I want to bring in Douglas Murray across the pond there in New York. Douglas, looking from afar, what do you make of this? Liz Truss, I don't think I can ever remember any leader short of after World War II inheriting a worse situation than this. Do you have any confidence that Liz Truss is the woman to guide us to quieter waters, to calmer waters?
Not very much. I wish her well, as I think everybody should. The only person I can think of who came into a worse position was Theresa May after her very bad call in the 2017 general election. The problem that Liz Truss is getting into is this, as your other guests have just said, it's unlikely, whatever she does, that the benefits of her governance are going to be felt fast. Everything to do with the energy crisis, everything to do with the cost of living crisis. She's got basically 2 years to solve these things. And it seems very unlikely she could do it in that time. And here's the bigger problem, Piers, as you well know. We're now 12 years in to Conservative governance in the UK. 12 years. And to a great extent, this feels to me like the major years, when you had that third press of the Conservative talent, and you had all of these crises and the feeling that they couldn't get on top of it. I, of course, hope, like everybody else, that Liz Truss can. But the problem she has is that, the question will keep being asked, particularly by the Labour opposition, well, who's been running the joint for the last 12 years? OK, for 5 years, the Conservative Party had Nick Clegg manacled to their leg, a very unpleasant situation for anyone to be in. But after those 5 years, we have had 7 years of Conservative majority rule. And, all of these questions that are coming up are questions that could have been answered before. And I think we're going to start hearing the same excuses from Conservative ministers as we've heard in recent years. They'll tell us that the blob is the problem, that the civil service is the problem, that the unions are the problem, and all sorts of other things. And they may be right on that, but the question will keep coming up. Well, who's been in charge?
I agree.
For the last 12
let me bring Grace back in on that, because the other problem Liz Truss has got, she's got the spectre of Boris Johnson who'll be lurking like this ugly shadow in the background, ready to pounce. He did a typical Boris job this morning. I was watching it live. He comes out, doesn't apologise for anything. No regrets, all very buffoonery. These are all my greatest hits. It's all been a tremendous success, and see you later. And then the sun came out and kind of shone on this guy as he sauntered out of Downing Street, compared to poor old Truss, who got poured on. And, he's a lucky general, Boris, in many ways, isn't he? He then quoted some Roman emperor who famously went back to a farm and ploughed the fields. But what he didn't mention was that emperor, he then came back from the field. He left his plough and came back to save the country. He sounds like Trump when he speaks like this.
I know, of course. I mean, why do you think he did this ridiculous farewell tour? Going around saying, look at all the wonderful things I've done, look at how green I've made Britain, despite the fact that if we had actually gone green, we wouldn't be dealing with the scale of this energy crisis that we're dealing with right now. He's obviously planning on coming back. He's going to go away, go on the speaking circuit for a few years, make huge amounts of money.
The book will make millions.
Make huge amounts of money while people in this country are literally struggling to heat their homes. Come back when he's dealt with all of his offspring and given them as much money
Richard,
as
we are in
an
era, aren't we, where shamelessness with politicians can be very successful. Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, they have no shame.
Just focus on the track record. 12 years, as Douglas said, of Tory leadership. Tory government has left, as you said, a crisis of crises. There are so many, you can't name them all. You forget them. I mean, this is incompetence, it's negligence, and it's the British people, the lowest paid, the least well off, who are going to suffer the most. And that's what I really, really resent.
It is actually the legacy of a failed macroeconomic agenda that Liz Truss is saying that she's basically going to revive. She's saying, I'm the next Thatcher.
And which, by the way, her fingerprints have been all over as a member of successive governments.
Totally.
She's been there 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So she's not squeaky clean coming in here like, nothing to do with me, Gov. It was you, Gov, right?
I mean, what's she going to do? Tax cuts. Right, OK, we've already got high levels of inequality. Thatcher did tax cuts.
We can't afford to... Well,
no, but that's why I disagree.
It's a big myth. I keep mentioning this. Margaret Thatcher, when she came in and inherited a very hard situation, bad economy, she didn't cut taxes. She put them up.
She waited a few years.
Well, she put them up to start with.
But the truth is,
when the economy settled down, then she cut them.
The top rate of income tax was 80% when Thatcher came to power, and then she steadily reduced it.
You can't tax your way out of a crisis. You've got to grow your way out of a crisis. After the Second World War, our national debt fell from 150% down to about 50%
Yeah.
very, very quickly because of growth. And she's right on that.
But
so
tax
she's got to
cuts don't
taxes.
deliver growth.
They do.
If
you
tax
cut
cuts
taxes,
delivered growth, then we would have had
absolutely.
astonishingly
Cut
levels of
taxes-
growth
cut
over
taxes
the course
hard.
of the coalition government when
but they didn't cut- they haven't cut
corporate tax
taxes.
reform.
We've
They
got
cut
the highest
corporation
taxes
tax
for 70 years.
We're in a race to the bottom on corporation tax, and that's
Well, you
supposed,
haven't cut taxes
that's
for people
supposed
or
to be
small
what delivers investment.
Actually, as leaders from Thatcher to Reagan and others have proven, when the economy is doing well and is stable and you cut taxes, you can get the growth.
But how do you get the economy well and doing stable?
Well,
you need
that's
low levels of inequality. You need investment.
I don't think you can do it.
Public investment,
I don't think you
which
can
we
massively
haven't had.
increase borrowing by 100 billion and cut taxes and expect
The
growth.
government's,
I don't think you can do it.
government's balance sheet is absolutely fine as long as you cut taxes, you cut unnecessary regulation, and you go for growth. What you don't do is borrow to subsidise, to give 100 billion quid to a bunch of already very rich investors in oil producers.
Okay.